All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Uncle Makara, all relations. Let's get started today. Quick video today, okay? I have a very busy day ahead of me, so I want to give you guys something powerful for this portal day today, okay? Now, let me first put on my headset. You know, I saw this quote by Osho, right? And it was very interesting because it was saying life is not a problem to be solved. It is a mystery to be lived. And I think that's a really, really important place to begin, okay? Because the media will paint you a specific picture of reality, how it's going to be, okay? It's a very, very specific way that we sense what reality means to us and is to us, okay? So, first and foremost, we have to understand that media, okay, is hijacking your flow state and perhaps even bringing in spiritual intruders and invaders. Okay. So this is going to be a very powerful live stream on this topic. Let me just check the sound settings. Okay. Cool. So I won't be sharing anything on the screen, guys, because I just don't want to get copyright striked. I mean, YouTube is doing that for this channel quite a lot, so I'm just going to move ahead and teach in this one, okay? Now, number one, vibrations are embedded into the music industry, okay? They're programmed by the musician, the person who is creating, the recording artist, right? If they're carrying certain energies within them and they're bringing it to the recording studio and then sharing from that negative vibration, you are now transmitting that pain into sound files, sound generated, packets of information through MP3 or whatever, right? And so we start to understand that there is a connection between media and Medea, right? The sorceress of Greek mythology. And the media illusion is a powerful metaphor for how media can hijack somebody and their flow state, much like Medea used magic to manipulate those around her. Okay. So Medea is known for her cunning and mastery of illusion, and she used manipulation and deception to achieve her goals. Okay. So in the same way, today's media, whether it's social media, news outlets, different forms of entertainment, can create powerful illusions that pull people out of their flow. So let's say that you are going to be an Olympic level swimmer, right? You're fed with the media that that's not possible, that you have to work extra hard, and it creates this specific reality where you can't do it, right? So media is like Medea's magic. It captures attention, it distorts the reality, it feeds on the emotional responses to that reality, and then it leads you into a distraction, disrupting your inner peace, your inner balance, your inner flow. Now, the flow state is an uninterrupted space where you're fully engaged, right? You're creating without effort, and you're in harmony with your surroundings, with nature, okay? However, modern media is designed to fracture attention, correct? Every notification, every clickbaity headline, every trending post is like a subtle spell cast to pull you away from deep focus. So just as Medea could charm or confuse you with her spells, media today is engineered to hijack your attention and divert your energy into an endless scrolling zombie mode, okay? Reacting to the latest outrage, right? Feeding into the algorithm of pain and sorrow, okay? So algorithms are modern day sorcery, okay? They predict and manipulate our desires and emotions. So if you're Googling a lot of stuff based on like you have insecurity about your body hair or something, you're going to start noticing the algorithm is picking up on your insecurity. Okay. So when you're in a deep focus and you're focusing on something meaningful, a single notification can't pull you out of the zone because you're so enriched by the moment. So Medea's enchantments really creates a reality where time slips away unnoticed. So it puts you into a flow. whereas you want to maintain your flow, right? So hours pass and you realize that you've been absorbed into a stream of content far removed from your original intentions, okay? You just went on there just to get a dopamine hit, right? Just to get that spike. However, it led you into some weird sensationalist news that created a shock factor in your nervous system, similar to Medea's dramatic illusions to capturing your emotional energy, right? So it's like the alarming stories create the state of urgency, create the state of anxiety, create the state of panic, disrupting your ability to remain centered and in your own zone, in your own element. It's difficult for you to maintain or tap into deeper creativity as your brain is responding to perceived threats all the time, right? You guys are getting this? So let me see who's on, man. Okay. Fantastic. Whoever's watching, continue watching, okay? Peace and love. Many blessings. So when you're in this heightened state, right, it's difficult to maintain these deeper levels of creativity. Now, binge watching a series or getting lost in content can mimic Medea's method of casting spells or trapping her enemies into a false reality. Similarly, streaming platforms encourage escapism. They make it easy for you to disconnect with reality and be absorbed into their world, right? So while some media can inspire, okay, while some media can inspire, there are also other forms of passive consumption that keeps you from actively engaging into your own flow. Okay, 1 second. This is from my dad. বলো একটু দাঁড়াও, শুনতে পাচ্ছি না। হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে। Okay, just the driver. Okay, so let's just say that we have casting a spell to put someone into a false reality. What will we do? Essentially, what will we do, right? We'd make it easy for them to disconnect. We'd make it very consuming, very actively engaging in our own flow, right? Away from other people's flow, trading personal creativity for some kind of a prepackaged, commercial title, right? Some kind of entertainment value. So it's similar to the siren song, right? That drift sailors away from their course, right? Where they're going. Let's say they have to go to that island, the sirens pull them away from it, right? They seduce them, leading them astray, right? So away from the flowing river of creativity and focus. So you're a sailor, you're like, I'm going to get this job done. And then you get distracted. And the longer you listen, the farther you drift from your purpose, right? The longer you buy into the distractions. Like, why does a magician distract the audience, right? Think of it like a sleight of hand. Because while the audience's attention is drawn to one thing, the real trick is happening elsewhere, right? So in media, your focus is directed towards surface level entertainment, okay? All this drama around celebrities and all this stuff, and creating distractions while your deep potential, your ability to enter flow and create is sidelined, right? Because now all you're thinking about is that. You can't live through your day without gossiping about somebody else, right? So to resist this modern day hijacking, you got to be mindful of how and when you engage with media. A very easy fix for people who scroll apps and scroll things on their phone, keep the most addictive apps on the final page of your phone, right? So that way you're being more conscious as you're doing this. You're using it, but you're using it consciously now, and you're turning off notifications. You're using time blocks for focused work, and you're practicing these digital detoxes, right? You're practicing breaking out of the spell of media or Medea's enchantment. Okay, that's what you're really doing, because you much more need to guard your attention and channel it intentionally to protect your sacred space of where you get in the zone, right? And so in conclusion, media acts like Medea, casting illusions, drawing you away from your true path, and leaves you tangled in all of these different distractions away from what you intended, right? So you can break free from these illusions and re-enter flow state where your most loving and authentic self thrives, right? It's so interesting because when a baby is born, right? Think about this. At a deep primal level, when a baby is born, it makes eye contact with the mother, right? And so if you're right-handed as a mom, you would hold the baby like this, and it would be the right eye looking at the left eye, actually. Okay. Now, this is very, very powerful because this creates an emotional resonance loop, okay, just from eye contact alone. So if you notice, oxytocin is released like this. So if I look at the opposite eye of the person, it's going to create this vortex, right? So physical interaction with others, even if it's a fist bump, a salute, whatever, it's a little elbows touching, whatever it is, right? It doesn't matter. To the littlest extent, expands bonding, right? Because we notice something called chemical signaling. So one person's sweat, leaves the different levels of pheromones from their body and so forth. And this is why I believe that women, their periods sync up. You'll oftentimes notice this. And oftentimes it's the alpha female who has higher testosterone levels compared to the other women. They kind of determine the sync in a sense. So it's trippy once you look into this stuff, right? Your stress as a leader impacts the rest of the tribe's stress levels. So if you're really frantic and messed up in your own head as a leader, your clients are going to be at the brunt of that. You guys get that? So this is why it's so important that as a leader, you work on your stress levels. You work on feeling stillness and inner peace because you are the example. You're showing the leadership to others, right? Like think of it like a thought experiment, right? Let's say Cameron Diaz was coming over to your house tomorrow, right? No questions asked. She was just coming over. You couldn't do anything about it, whatever, right? And you would initially feel this need to be better, to change things around, to hide the old furniture, right? To highlight yourself in the most proper manner, to wear a suit, to buy a suit, to rent a suit, okay? Going to all of these measures just because of somebody else's perceived value. Think about it, okay? Now be about it because the priest beast understands that, oh, no, 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 okay? Just because a celebrity is coming over tomorrow doesn't make me suddenly on my toes, looking towards creating the most epic impression that I can, to overshare all of my stories with them, to pour my heart out into the soul of this celebrity because I might not ever get the chance to meet another one, right? This kind of low scarcity thinking is not going to get you the most ultimate interaction with Cameron Diaz. Now, what if you just came out of the shower, kind of chill in a top hat, with like a robe, whatever, downstairs in the lounge. And you're like, hey, what's up? And you're in your element, you're in your zone, much better response, much better interaction, even if you're not like in a suit or whatever, right? Now, of course, it's good to dress up and, be presentable and all these different things. But ultimately, your energy is being read, okay? Your energetic signature, especially women, bro, okay? Women read energy like this. Okay, this is why you got to step up as a man and be able to learn this stuff, right? Also, you got to learn how to be intuitive and intuit what is happening in your reality, right? Because otherwise, you're not going to predict even the stock market and things like this, right? How are you going to be able to move forward if you don't know what's coming, right? While you dance with the mystery of life, that's what I'm telling you. You don't need to figure everything out. I'm saying that go with what you know, right? Go with what you know. You know certain things and you're naturally gravitating towards certain topics, certain tangents, certain themes in your mind. You're curious about those things, man. Think about it. You might not be at the job that you want right now, but it's giving you the money. But start to understand that the next job that you manifest, make sure that you carry that frequency alive after you're in this kind of transitional phase from job to job. Okay, really key and important to understand these things, guys, but not a lot of people are talking about this. But media can be one of the biggest distractions out of the zone, right? You could be completely out of your presence and out of your element when it comes down to this, because media will slowly start to move you towards their warped version of what reality means to them. And if you buy into that strategy of like, oh yeah, but I watched a documentary on this, therefore it must be right, that kind of mentality and that kind of thinking doesn't leave for open-mindedness and greater communication, right? Greater perspectives and greater depth and expansion of ideas and topics, right? Now, if someone's being intrusive, interruptive, hostile, we get it, right? There's certain things that just like no-nos in terms of spiritual conduct. However, or spiritual social conduct, right? However, if you notice that you have old ancestral loops, right, playing in your mind based on like, I need to fix this, I need to go here, I need to do this specific thing to be well liked by society and be able to actually fit into that group. Whereas you have no intention of getting along with that group. Let's be honest, okay? You just want to get out of there, right? Fuck those people, right? But at the same time, you're like, no, but maybe, I don't know. That's kind of like, I don't want them to feel bad. And that's completely human. You're a human being. Congratulations. Okay. Congratulations for being a human being that you feel things for other people and you have empathy, like great, good for you. You're an empath, it's I think it's a given. You're a human being, you feel things, you embellish in other people's emotions at times. But you got to understand to observe it and not always absorb it into your own storyline and make it part of your giant narrative. You got to get your narrative clear and know what your story is to avoid somebody else writing over your story and editing it and just adding, oh, I think I'll reference this to point B, and yeah, that can't really work over here, so we're gonna have to move this around. And yeah, this needs to change. You're trying to create the movie script of your life, and then the editors are all like, yeah, but this, let me reformat that. Let me drop that over here. No, don't reformat that. I fucking worked on that, right? But no, let me just move it a little bit over here, and yeah, it's like, thank goodness I have the original copy, right? Jeez. So that's the thing. You have to protect your energy, man, from other people coming in, infiltrating, and trying to get you into their narrative. Okay, weaseled into their narrative. It doesn't mean that you cannot share stories. It does not mean that you can't interact with other narratives. It does not mean that you can't collaborate with others and create a great empire and, travel the world and create a legacy. It doesn't mean that, right? All it means is that you are being very protective of your own story that you're creating for yourself. And this is what actually a person who's like a person who works on image control and stuff like that, they focus so much on micromanagement and not enough on energy maintenance, right? Like, think about it. If you're being so congruent, right, on camera, in life, in general, and you're living it, you're not going to really overthink that much, right? You're going to be fully embellished into the product that is you, right? And so you can't live in this illusion without understanding how to become an illusionist. Because you as an artist, you're creating this life, right? You're writing the narrative. You are the creative instructor. Your mind is, right? As the creative director of this thing. So you got to be able to understand what are your most dominant thoughts, what are your most dominant emotions, and what are your most dominant actions, right? And figure that out for yourself. That's your default mode network, that's your congruence. And if you can bring that into an inner stillness, a mind-heart coherence, it doesn't matter whether you're meeting, the president of the Ukraine or, somebody war-torn in Zimbabwe. It doesn't matter. Like the avatar of who you're speaking to does not matter in that state because it's a state-to-state conversation, you see? It's not a Russia versus US conversation. It's a state-to-state conversation, meaning not just the country states, I'm talking states of consciousness. If both leaders have a leverage of being very level-headed, that's going to be a very intelligent and wise, mature conversation, right? Where they're going to sit down, maybe share policies and get through it. But if one brings a weird, atrocious energy to the mix and tries to like spin it out of control and distort and fabricate the events and try to mask things and try to, superimpose their version on top of what the reality is. Now it's becoming like this mess in the stew because this other person is just doing the brunt of the energy management from that, right? And this other person just diverting, just creating excuses, saying I'll do it next week, but doesn't. Like this kind of thinking continues. It perpetuates, guys. So we have to end it like when we know it's too much, right? We got to know our boundaries. A lot of spiritual people, they don't know their own boundaries. That's really sad, because these are the real leaders of the world, man. The people who are able to feel into the new earth, right? I want to speak to those people, those clairsentient people who can actually feel into what the new earth is going to give us in terms of installations, upgrades. And I use these different words that are technological words. However, think about it like when you do something epic, you've installed the character trait like a video game. Okay. And that's such a powerful feeling. Okay. I'm just speaking personally as a man, right? I don't know how other people feel about this, but this way of thinking has made things so much easier for me because just being me is enough, right? The unworthiness dynamic that I'm trying to chase something and constantly needing to get by and constantly trying to fit in and constantly trying to survive is over. I'm the survivalist now. I'm the motherfucker through the jungles, right? Cutting through with the machete. I am not the one sitting back and like, fuck, we forgot the map back in the, okay? No, it now is the time to lead. And it might be a little bit, progressive or weird or, unconventional or unorthodox. And that's completely valid because Primal Sutra is looking for the next pinnacle, the next bridge, to bring us towards that great feeling within for all of us. And you understand that certain people, they will just dismiss something, right? By just watching like 15 seconds of it, right? They won't watch the guy's entire podcast and then make a judgment. They will listen to the one snippet someone has taken out as clickbait and put onto some social media rumor mill platform and go with that and blast that at them. Now look at that mentality, right, guys? That's such a flow hijacker, that person. That person is such a flow hijacker because they're trying to impose their will on everybody. Okay? And then he holds onto the frame the strongest, or she holds onto the frame the strongest, and everybody else's breaks, right? Because they're human, they make mistakes. They're like, oh yeah, but that person's like, no, absolutely not, right? And their stubbornness holds to their wretched old age, and they become decrepit, and they're still like, no, I don't want to. They're still in that bitterness, right? But you need to break out of that pattern, my friend. You need to forgive and love those people from a distance. You need to understand that they need healing. They are wounded, okay? So you need to stop giving them excess energy and bring your energy back towards yourself and preserve it, protect it. Make sure that you are your own best friend, man, okay? You got to treat yourself now as a best friend would, okay? Take yourself out to the movies just by yourself. Give yourself a meal just for you. Spend quality time just with you. Enjoy the facets of being a human again, of engaging with others, of understanding this thing differently, okay? It's our turn. It's our time. Let's get it. Primal Sutra. We're all going to make it. I fully believe that, okay? I'll see you all in the astral and have an incredible day. May the flow be with you and stay